But growing up, I was up until probably my senior year, I was the smallest of my peers. So I was kind of a late bloomer. So I remember specifically they split it up. There was a 15s group, a U15s group, and a U16s group. And a lot of the kids I'm a 95. A lot of the kids that were 95s were playing up with the 16s group already. And we did a scrimmage with them. And I remember I didn't play well and I struggled physically. So they told me that they thought I was a little undersized at the time and was not ready to make it to that next level.
I see.
Yeah. So it was honestly, it was the first time that I have experienced rejection like that. And I remember exactly where I was. I was at a college showcase in West Virginia. And I remember I got in the car and my dad told me and read me the email. And then we had the long drive home. And so up to that point, it was the most devastating, time of my small soccer career.
How did you overcome that?
Step into the world of FC Game Changer, the football club that will change your game. We want to help boost your mindset, strength, and nutrition. A potent trio capable of completely transforming both your football performance and your overall life.
The way we play it, the way we say it.
With a new expert every month, including strength coaches, nutritionists, football coaches, former and current footballers. We are dedicated to sharing knowledge and skills for the next generation of footballers, allowing you to become the best footballer you can be. Thanks for joining us today. Now, let the game begin.
Matt Mahoney, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you so much for taking the time to be on this podcast. We've had, a teammate of yours in our podcast, Hakeem Ward. And after doing a little research, we reached out to you. And I'm super excited to have you here to share, all the experience that you have since, even before, let's say, high school, club soccer, and all of that. So I'm really looking forward to having you on the podcast.
Thank you.
So, Matt Mahoney, can you tell us, like in a high level, who is Matt Mahoney?
Yeah, I'm sure very different people, have different versions of what they would describe Matt Mahoney as. But on the field, I like to see myself as somebody who competes, tries to lead by example, work hard, things like that. I think that's what kind of jump-started my career and gave me an opportunity. But off the field, I like to joke around, eat good food, hang out with my wife and kid, and then I also go, have a drink with the boys on occasion, So I like to kind of keep it light, have fun, not take things too seriously. But then, on the field, obviously, you'll see a little different side of me.
Yeah. No, it's interesting that you said that because people do have, depending on how they know you, how they, grew up with you, they'll have like different sides of you that if you ask, I'm sure like 5 of your friends, they will tell me, is slightly different who Matt Mahoney is.
For sure.
Yeah. And so tell us, when did soccer start for you?
Yeah, real young. I would say probably 3 or 4. Grew up in a big soccer family. Both my parents played in college. I have 2 older sisters that ended up playing in college as well. And then got 2 younger brothers that play. So kind of a big soccer family. And so we all started young. I played multiple sports as well. I started, for me, it was soccer, baseball, basketball were the 3 sports that I played growing up. And then once I hit like baseball, I quit pretty early. I would say probably 9 or 10. I wasn't too great at it. Basketball was a little later, maybe 12 years old, right when middle school started. And that's when I kind of started to realize that I could really do something with soccer and take it a little more seriously.
And how important do you think that was for you, playing different sports alongside with soccer?
Yeah, I think, we debate this all the time, amongst our peers and things like that. I think it's good. I think, you can see a lot of parallels between a lot of different sports, especially maybe baseball is a little different, but certain defending ideas in basketball and soccer, for example, and things like that, you can see kind of parallels. But I also think it makes you maybe a little more athletic, more well-rounded, and just is also good to, as a kid growing up, to play different sports, because also, burnout's a real thing. So say I was only to do soccer for so long and not try these other things, maybe I wouldn't be here right now,
Yeah, that's interesting because, like you mentioned with baseball, you noticed that wasn't like your strength per se.
Yeah.
You did like basketball, but again, soccer was always like your main sport. It's so interesting because that could have gone in a completely different direction too. You probably could have, not liked soccer as much, but loved basketball, loved baseball, and decided to pursue those other sports as well, which is super interesting. Yeah, it's I come from Brazil, and it's I do respect and love the system here because since a young age you guys are exposed to all sorts of sports, and you do have the infrastructure for those sports.
Yeah.
In a country like Brazil, you don't. You basically just play soccer. That's all you have to do. And usually you start at futsal because, again, the infrastructure is not there. You can't find, fields. You can't find turf. Usually if you find a field, it's like grass and dirt. And it's really, really kind of, the infrastructure is not there. Yeah. So I wonder how different culturally that plays, a role as well in terms of like the way soccer is here in the U.S. versus soccer in Brazil and other different countries as well.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I think like for somebody now who plays soccer professionally and growing up, I would say I'm a little jealous of kind of that cultural aspects that in Brazil that you have being I think obviously if you look at the national team in Brazil versus the national team in the US, you would say obviously Brazil's better, so they're doing something right in their development at a younger age that maybe we're doing wrong. So that's where another debate comes in, whether it's right to be playing so many different sports, because if you get these players young in a single sport, maybe they're better as they get older and whatnot. And also the freedom of playing on the streets in Brazil or something like that. With futsal, you might develop better technical ability or do things that, maybe if you're in a structural system, they teach you a little differently. So I don't know which system's right, which one's wrong. But I do know obviously Brazil national team is better than the US right now, whether it's just history or whether it's development, who knows? But I can see there are positives to both sides.
Yeah, no, I'm it's a debate, right? Like you just don't know. You do mention one thing in terms of like, the Brazilian national team is superior than the U.S. national team. Yeah. But, it's an interesting, because when you look at the women's side is a powerhouse.
Yeah.
It's a super interesting dynamic. And I do believe that the U.S. at some point will become a powerhouse. I have that belief.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting after the 2026 World Cup here to kind of see how soccer takes off in the U.S. And obviously you see, the top players in the U.S. are playing for some of the top teams in the world now. So we are doing something right to do that. But again, we saw in the World Cup a couple of years ago, still lacking in some areas. So it'll be really interesting to see moving forward what happens in the U.S. here.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. I like to think like positively in terms of like soccer and the country here, because going back to what I was saying in terms of the infrastructure, here, Jesus, like middle schools, they have a full-on stadium, and it's like you can only see that stuff in Brazil at the professional level. Here you go middle schools, you go high schools, you go college, Jesus Christ, like a D1. We're going to touch on Temple, like that's the college you went to, but like I can only imagine the infrastructure, the facilities and access that you had in that school.
Yeah, better than a lot of USL teams, that's for sure.
It's crazy. Okay, cool. So, young age, what would you say? 5 years old, you started?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say 4 or 5. Played for my local club. Grew up in upstate New York in a place called Poughkeepsie. So the team was called LaGrange. LaGrange Rockets was a local team that I played for. My dad coached me growing up, so started from a young age there, and then transferred to just different names throughout, my local town. And then when I was 12 years old, when I hit 8th grade, it was middle school, the option to go, we realized that where I was in New York wasn't the greatest soccer area in terms of like, if I thought I wanted to take my play to the next level, I was going to have to go closer to the city. And so I went to try out I had a buddy that I was playing ODP with. ODP was the thing back then, right before it was transferring into the academy programs, which were kind of like my time growing up, is where like the academy system started to take off. Not anything like what it is right now, but it was starting back then. So then I went to try out for the Red Bull Academy team, made it, played there for a couple of years, ended up getting cut actually after my sophomore year. So then played for it was the Cosmos / Gotchi affiliate, which is out of New York City, which is still an academy team. Played there for my last 2 years before heading off to Temple.
Well, so that's all like during high school.
Yep. So my local team I played for up until 7th grade, and then we realized that we didn't think I was going to develop more if we were playing with the players that were on my normal club team, and so we wanted to go compete against better players because I think it was in 7th grade. I can't remember the exact age, but what they would do is we went to the ODP camps. And so how it would work is you have like your local one, and there are scouts that watch you. And then if you get selected, you get to go to the regional camp, which I'm not even sure they still do that now. But then there was that regional camp. And then if you got selected from there, you would go to the national camp, and which is supposed to be the best players in the country. And the camp was in Boston, Massachusetts, which I think they still do to this day, if I remember correctly. And so it was after that camp that, my parents sat me down and talked to me and said, hey, like, you're playing with some of the best players in the country. If you want to take this seriously, we can, and we could try to see, what options there are. And then to my parents' credit, I mean, it wasn't close. Like we traveled, anywhere from 4 to 6 times a week down to New Jersey, hour and a half, both directions, while I was in middle school and high school. And then to the city was the same, about an hour and a half, hour and 45 both ways, for me to be able to, now eventually achieve my dream, end up going to college first, and then now playing professionally.
Wow, that's great. You see, like parents.
Yeah.
Parents. So did your dad play?
Yes. So they went to a school called Brandeis University in Massachusetts. Both my parents played.
Oh, both of them played.
Yeah. My mom played, and it was, again, I forget what years it was, but must've been in the 80s, I believe it was. There were not obviously many women's college soccer programs out there. So my mom was fortunate. She went to one, I think it was Division III, and she had the opportunity to play, and that's how my parents met. Wow.
That's so, there wasn't, a plan B for you. You was soccer and soccer.
Yeah, it was. That's the big.
Wow, that's amazing. The influence, like that's cool that both of them played, so they know the game, and also them sitting down with you and say, hey, giving you the option as well, not per se forcing you to pursue that dream, but asking yourself, which I think it's important. That like asking you, do you want to become a professional footballer? If you do, we can help you get there, at least facilitate to get you there. And that's what they did.
Yes.
That's insane. And question for you now, like parents and like you just had a kid.
Yeah. 2.5-month-old now.
Yeah. Me too. I just had 9 months old and
congrats.
Yeah, congrats you too. And
thank you.
Are you already thinking, like how is that with you right now?
It is so funny. I do get excited for the moment, like when he's big enough where I'll be able to walk on the field with him. And, you think some way through just the influence of seeing me playing, like maybe he'll fall in love with it in some way. But I thought about it a lot, and, and obviously spoke with my wife about it. It's like, you still can't force anything on them. If they want to play, they do. And if they love it, they do. But like, I feel like for the level we're at right now in the USL, like if I didn't still love playing, I wouldn't be, because, we're not making millions like guys in Europe do. So there's an aspect of love to the game or love for the game that you still need to have. And so hopefully in some way I could pass that on to him, and he will want to play, because that would be super cool from my perspective.
Yeah.
But also there are so many more important things, as you realize, and obviously, you having a kid too, like it changes your perspective on
100%.
things. So we'll see, hopefully, but again, like I won't force anything on.
No, that's cool. You already have, your parents to look back to and what they did with you, so definitely. It's like you have like a map already, because forcing is not the way. We do see, elite athletes that, they probably wouldn't become what they did become if the parents didn't force the game into them. However, these, athletes, they tend to have a lot of issues, especially as they grow older, a lot of mental health related. So it's a tricky balance right there.
It is, for sure. Yeah, I mean, because I even remember, you know, how parents get involved in the games. I mean, there were one or two, you know, spats you could remember, like when with my dad when I was younger, just like trying to coach, because like I feel like you can get caught up in it. Like you realize maybe your son is excelling at a different level than some other kids, and so you want to help so badly. So that's all. Like again, it was never really bad. It was just him trying to help me in the best way he could, you know. And it was only maybe one or two times when I was young, if I could even remember. And now it's funny, like we'll still, after every game I've got, we'll have a FaceTime and chat about the game after. Like we just love doing it, you know, talking about the game. And so it's like that relationship that if you can keep that, like it makes it worth it, you know. I've been playing for so long now, 9 years professionally in college and all that, so it makes it worth it.
That's cool. That's cool. Okay, now with you said, so first you tried out for the New York Red Bulls, correct?
Yes.
So what did you like yourself, what did you do in order to prepare for that tryout?
Great question. I mean, we were young, so I was 12, so I wouldn't say I necessarily prepared extra training in some way, because we were doing like I would go train on my own, or like I would train my sister's team being older at the time. And I just, like, at that time I always had a ball on my feet. Like I would love juggling. I would love like just bouncing it off the wall, things like that. But I think it was more like mentally, like going in and realizing that this is going to be the highest level I've played at in my life. And so it's more just like, don't put pressure on it, just go, like, be yourself, and go perform. Because I feel like I've also been in moments later in life where different tryouts, this and that, or where you're trying to perform too hard and do too much and you don't perform as well. So as a 12-year-old, it's kind of a hard balance, because like you don't really understand what you're doing yet. Like you're going and you're competing against these kids, but you don't really feel the pressure as much. You know, it's like a higher level, but for me, it was just it was more like I was nervous. But once you get playing too, like it was kind of easier to kind of just get into things. But yeah, I remember being nervous leading up to it and thinking like, all these kids are going to be really good. But then once you start playing, it kind of all like figure yourself out.
Now, with you looking back at that, let's say the night before of the tryout, is there anything that you would have done differently?
No, I mean, honestly, to be honest, I can't remember the night before the tryout. So that's probably a good thing, because maybe I wasn't like panicking too much.
Right.
But I do remember, because they used to train at, we were training a bubble outside of Giant Stadium. That's where they would train. And so we would train in a bubble turf field outside of it. And so I remember the exact like training session, this and that. I remember I performed well, and I remember like leaving very happy. But I would say like probably just like little details, like making sure I slept well, you know, make sure I ate well. But again, when you're 12 years old, like certain things can be so exciting that could kind of prevent that. But like looking back now, being a professional, I would probably just try to, you know, make myself as healthy and fit as possible to go, you know, perform.
100%. No, the reason why I'm kind of asking you these questions is because imagine if we have, even if it's just one 12-year-old watching and listening right now, and this same person is about to go do a tryout.
Yeah.
Now, telling them, you know, little, you know, tips and tricks that they could do that could probably help. That's basically what they're looking for, but they could never find it before a tryout. And now you're basically telling them, go get some sleep, go eat proper food, stay hydrated. You know, you're going to be, it's a tryout, right? Being nervous is actually a good thing, because if you're not nervous, that means that you don't care, right?
Yeah.
So no, this is good. It's good, because the main goal is basically, you know, telling young athletes things that I wish I knew when I was their age. The same thing for you. You know, how can we help? You know, because we can't go back in time. You know, there's no way we can go back, but we can tell them everything that we've done that worked and things that did not work. So then they, you know, they're gonna, mistakes will happen, but maybe we can kind of help them.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So then you said you did well. You stayed with them for a few years, 1 or 2 years, right?
Yeah. So I was there with them 8th, 9th, and 10th grade, and then I got cut. So I didn't make it to the U16 level, which would have been my junior year.
Did they tell you why?
At the time, so I was very small growing up. So I'm 5'11" right now. So you know, I'm never eclipsed
You're taller than myself. You're a defender though.
Yeah. Center back, so maybe a little undersized, but you know, it is what it is. But growing up, I was up until probably my senior year, I was the smallest of my peers. So I was kind of a late bloomer. So I remember specifically they split it up. There was a 15s group, a U15s group, and a U16s group. And a lot of the kids that were, I'm a 95. A lot of the kids that were 95s were playing up with the 16s group already. And we did a scrimmage with them. And I remember I didn't play well and I struggled physically. So they told me that they thought I was a little undersized at the time and was not ready to make it to that next level.
I see.
Yeah. So it was honestly, it was the first time that I have experienced rejection like that. And I remember exactly where I was. I was at a college showcase in West Virginia. And I remember I got in the car and my dad told me and read me the email. And then we had the long drive home. And so up to that point, it was the most devastating, time of my small soccer career.
How did you overcome that?
Well, I mean, again, like kudos to my parents. Like we talked about like a little bit about adversity and like what to do next. In that, it wasn't the end of the world. Like people get cut all the time, and so now I just had to go work harder, and I had to find another team. And so I did. Actually, a lot of the guys that got cut from that Red Bull team joined me on this Gotchi team. It was Cosmos for that year, but the Gotchi team out in New York City, and we went and played the 16s group because we were all 16s then at that time. And in that season, we went and played that Red Bull team and ended up beating them. So it was a little, revenge feeling. Honestly, just like looking back at it, I'm actually glad it happened because I think adversity is important. It either makes or breaks you in some way. And if I were to fold there and say, go back to playing on a team where I was definitely the best player and didn't want to challenge myself anymore, then maybe I wouldn't be here right now.
100%. 100%. Yeah. That's so interesting how important parents are,
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to, because giving up was never an option, right? After you got cut?
Yeah. No, it wasn't. Yeah.
It wasn't.
No.
Yeah. So that's another thing too that I believe it happens a lot. The kid gets cut once. That's the first time that they see a no or, you're not good enough.
Yeah.
And instantly the first thought process is, I suck. I'm going to give up.
Yeah.
And that's cool. That did not happen to you. However, you also had your parents, to kind of remind you, hey, this is actually a good thing. Now analyze what didn't work. Analyze what they told you, the reason why you got cut, and keep working.
Yeah. And honestly, you see this a lot. I forget like the exact wording of the phrase, but like it's something about hard work beating talent. Like people might have talent when they're younger, but I know I would say pretty much every player that was a part of that group that made that team that I got cut from, I would say less like 3 are still playing, or 3 had made it professionally and had a long career. So there were players that were more talented than me at that age that maybe either didn't have the discipline or desire or whatever it was to continue to make it,
That's so interesting, huh? You see? Yeah.
So that's why hard work in a lot of ways is more important than just talent.
Yeah. So then when does Tempo happen? Was it like 2013-ish?
2013 was my freshman year, yep. And so actually I was committed to a different school, funny enough. I was committed to Holy Cross in Massachusetts my senior year of high school. And it ended up like in the winter of my senior year, they reached out to me and they were going to give me a lot of money. It was an expensive school. And they told me I wasn't going to make it in. They I was committed there. They told me I wasn't going to make it in. Said it was because due to my college letter or college essay, they were looking for maybe people that had done more or different. Honestly, I can't remember. But so I was very lucky that I reached back out to the Temple assistant at the time who really liked me and just said, hey, listen, we won't be able to give you any scholarship for the first year. So you'll have to, we'll help you out where you can, like try to get financial aid, things like that. But you'll have to come your freshman year with no scholarship, and then we'll help you out after that. And so again, that was like the second time where I was like, whoa, like, this kind of sucks. My initial school, which ended up being a better move because Temple is a better soccer school, and actually taught me a lot more than I think Holy Cross would have in the 4 years. So it's funny how things work out. But again, like another bit of adversity where like I thought things were set. I was going to this school and it changed up, and I had to completely, change my plan my senior year.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting. And how did that connection happen? Like, was it like you playing, they reached out to you, or you reached out to them? How did the connection happen?
Yeah, so they have college showcases. They had them for the academy system back then. I'm actually not sure if how they do it now. But it would be like think of like the old one, like a Dallas Cup, where just regular club teams would go, but these were specific for academy teams. And so this coach had reached. I had other options as well, but we ended up choosing Holy Cross for whatever reason in the end, with the scholarship and the coaching and whatnot. And then this coach that was the assistant at Temple had reached out to me, and I was already committed to Holy Cross. I was like, "Oh, sorry, like I'm already committed, et cetera, et cetera." And then I reached back out, and fortunately he responded, and then was like, "Yeah, we'd still love to have you." But obviously then the scholarship wasn't going to be available, so I had to take the leap of faith and go without any scholarship that freshman year.
Yeah, and it's important as well. Another thing that you mentioned, you after the first school that didn't work out with them, you had two options, right? Not do anything about it, and who knows what would happen, or reach out yourself, which is another lesson. How many kids they're afraid to reach out. Even if you don't have the connection already, you can find, schools' websites. You can find the coaching staff there, their emails, their phone numbers. It's just...
It's true, because I remember feeling embarrassed to a degree. I remember thinking my dad would be telling me, like, you need to reach out to this person. Like, it has to come from you. You're about to be an adult in college. Like, it can't come from the parent. But I remember being embarrassed because, I feel like people these days, like, if you're young, and I felt it plenty of times in my life, like, you feel embarrassed reaching out to someone maybe that's at the next level or someone higher up in where you want to be, and just like think that they might shrug you off or something like that. But there's really no harm. The worst thing they do is they don't reply to you, and then that's their loss.
Exactly. And if you don't reach out, you already have a no as an option as well. It's I do understand where the kids come from, being afraid or insecure, but like, if that's your dream, if you do want to go there or become a professional, because in the US, that's the path, right? You go to high school, you try academies, after academies, you try college, then you become a professional soccer player. So that is the path. You already know what the path is. In other countries, it's just like, you don't know. You don't have like a one path kind of solid to go to. Here you already know, so just reach out. If you don't have that connection already, reach out. I'm sure, like, if you reach out to 100 of them, one's gonna get back to you and it's gonna say, hey, we're interested. What was the main what was the difference between playing academy, like at that level, versus D1 college soccer?
I would say the biggest difference is you're going and playing versus men, versus boys, pretty much. I remember thinking the athleticism, the pace, the physicality was tougher, but the soccer was actually worse in some ways. Like, college soccer, and again, you see it in the pro level, there's many different ways to win. You don't necessarily have to be the best soccer team to win every game.
Right.
But I think that's where Temple allowed me to grow up. At 18, I was not ready to be a professional because I hadn't played against men yet, where I wasn't ready for the physicality. I was, again, I don't want to use this term in a negative way, but like soft in a way where I couldn't handle that yet. And so it took me a couple of years to mature to be able to handle that. But I was lucky that growing up, I had the soccer background, where a lot of the stuff we did at Red Bull and Gotchi was on the ball. So it was very technical. And then you get to college, obviously, and there are a lot of rules with, especially in the spring seasons, how many times you can actually touch a ball and play with your team and things like that. So I grew a lot physically in college, and still had that soccer background to go back on, thankfully. But it was, I would say, just the maturity playing as men, the physicality was the toughest part probably of college.
Yeah, no, combining the technical abilities with the physicality, I think that is the secret right there. Because with me, when I came to the US back in 2012 to play as well, to go to school, in Brazil, we just pretty much, it's technical soccer. That's basic fitness and physical. It's like, you don't even, worry about that, because everyone in the country just relies on their technical abilities. And when I got here, that's exactly what I saw as well. How physical the game was and how little technical was. So having to adapt and combine the two of them, that is the key to succeed. What can you tell young kids, though, to knowing that that's basically the main difference from going to academy, high school, now to D1 college soccer, it's the physical aspect of the game. What can you tell young kids to start working on now so they are ready when they get there?
I think not even just for this, but just for the whole, whole rounded aspect of your game is the mental aspect, mental discipline and mental toughness, mental control, emotional control. Because at the end of the day, like I remember playing against kids younger that were way bigger than I was, that were super physical, could run past you, this and that. But when they get older, they lack technical ability. Whereas then you have the younger guys that were able to be technical because they were smaller. And so they had to do that. That when everything evened out and they, got bigger, they ended up being the much better players. But I think there's a mental aspect to it because you see a lot of some of the best players in the world. I mean, obviously you could think of Messi, who's a little bit smaller, but some of the best players in the world are small and they're the best technical players, but they're also very athletic and very physical. Yeah. So I would say like tuning in on the mental aspect of it and trying to be a little tougher in there is probably going to get you further than necessarily just like, you're not going to just like flip a switch, I feel like, and all of a sudden you're going to walk into college and be like, okay, like I got to be physical, because it takes some training. Like, it took me a couple of years to realize like, I needed to break my old system of what I had been doing for 18 years and, kind of become a newer version of myself.
Yeah.
But it's tough.
Yeah. So you had to go through that mental aspect of the game as well to mature that within yourself. Yeah. What are some tricks, things that you've done that have, helped you with that? Yeah,
I would say one, watching people that were older than me, or that I looked up to. I think mentorship in sports is obviously massive, and especially obviously when I was a young pro too, I had someone that I was able to look up to and kind of taught me how to be a good professional as well, because that's obviously a longer season. But honestly, like it's different for everybody too. I think everyone in their own brain is so unique that whether it's internal motivation for you, whether it's external motivation, whatever it is for you, you got to kind of figure that out yourself to get to that next level, because I can't, for example, you can't tell me what works in my brain. I can't tell you what works. So we might have some similarities in terms of what gets us going. But I feel like at the end of the day, you have to figure out what for you mentally, what you want to achieve and how you're going to get it. And then in your own mind, kind of like, it feels like it's not a good answer, but figure it out in some ways,
No, you're 100% right though. What works for you doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for me or for others. Yeah. That's totally right. At least, just with you telling them that can click as well, because they might be looking to do the same exact thing that Matt Mahoney did or that Messi did. And that never works for them when they should actually be looking at themselves and what can I do myself, ways. You had your parents too. I'm sure that helped.
Yeah. You know? I mean, my parents and I, we spoke after every game, just little ways to improve and things like that. And yeah, I mean, you're totally right. Like out of my entire team right now, if I were to go ask them their trajectory from when they were younger to make it professionally, there would be some similarities in certain tracks, but everyone's path is different. So literally we could be from the same area in New York, grew up in the same academy, but we will also have very different experiences. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's like every path is unique to get to, where you want to achieve.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is great. I think there's a lot of stuff here that, a lot of kids, and again, I always say this, people might be, annoyed with me saying this, but if there's one young player listening, watching to this right now, and that young player is getting a lot of value out of this conversation, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I know that this is going to reach a lot more than just one young player, but if we can help one, it is already enough, and everything that you've told us so far is spot on. Tell us life, in Temple, playing for a D1 soccer program.
Yeah, it was great. I think college has many positives and many negatives in helping you achieve your professional soccer dream, if that's what it is.
Break that down. Break that down. The positives and negatives.
A lot of distractions. I mean, you go into, not everyone's goal when they play college soccer is to play professional. So when I went into Temple as a freshman, the seniors, for example, wanted to enjoy their last year. And obviously, you go to college and drinking is a big thing. So it'd be every weekend you have the opportunity to go do that. And I would say I indulged. I never drank or anything before I went to college. And again, I wouldn't condone it as an underage person. But what college experience is what it is. And so I was full in that. And I do believe that if you are in a certain thing, I wouldn't want you to not experience certain things of life as well. Like it is what you make it. And if that's your situation at the time and you can settle that in your mind, then that's perfectly okay. And at the time, I didn't think it was hindering me as much as it probably did, just knowing how bad drinking is, for example. And then you're eating dining hall food, which isn't the healthiest, and things like that. But I would say the toughest part was you're going in and there are a lot of distractions. We still trained hard and we had a really great team, and like I really enjoyed that part of it. But I would say probably my 4 years, the soccer was not the most enjoyable part of college because we weren't the greatest team, and I knew I wanted to play professionally. I didn't think it was setting me up for the best possible chance to play professionally.
Yeah.
And then I know we'll get into that with my path, like how I signed my first contract and things like that. But there were a lot of people. I remember I was going into my spring semester of my junior year, and we would try to go train and do things with just like captain's practices, for example. And I remember guys would be showing up drunk to do that, and I remember just being very angry, thinking like we are on very different paths and what we want to achieve. So that's where college can be good and can be bad. But whereas I played with a couple of friends and I have good friends that went to Stanford, for example, and they had a dry season in their fall. So again, like just different levels of D1. You can get D1 levels that don't take it as seriously. And I would say Temple was probably somewhere in the middle because they had a couple kids that have gone professional. And then you get the elite ones where most kids want to go professional.
And how important is that for, to achieve the professional level in terms of Division 1, 2, and 3?
I would say. Do
you think that matters much?
It's very important because I've also played with a lot of Division 2 players in the USL. Again, if you want to get to higher levels, I'm not sure. Again, the college route, it's changing now in the US a little bit with the academy systems where a lot of kids are starting becoming pro at 18 years old because they have that trajectory from their academies now. Whereas for us, it was still, the traditional go to high school, go to college, and then get drafted. Whereas a lot of those kids that might get drafted in college end up in the USL now anyways. So it's really interesting. But I would say to give yourself a better chance, it would probably be Division 1, I would say. But anything is possible. That's the crazy thing about potentially becoming a pro. You could be a Division 3 soccer player, score 30 goals, and get a chance to go, play professionally. And again, it's probably a little harder because the exposure is probably a little less. But anything is possible, I believe.
Yeah, what I'm getting from you is that it literally depends on you. Like you just said, if you go in, score 30 goals, like you're definitely gonna increase your chances to becoming a pro. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, and there's a lot you can do outside, right? You can still go train out on your own outside. If you lack physically, you can work on your fitness, get bigger, stronger, things like that that are still in your control.
Yeah, and let's go back to college, positive and negatives. Yeah. You're 100% right. It's tricky to navigate because one, your age, you're not quite mature yet. Two, you're coming from, high school to college. You definitely, you have your friends, you have your teammates. It's a tough one because you don't want to tell the kids to not experience the college life either. Yeah. Right? However, in order to achieve the professional level, you have to let go certain things.
Absolutely.
What are things that you could tell them to kind of help them navigate this kind of tricky part of their life?
I think a lot of it is people you surround yourself with. I know you can only control that to a certain extent in college sports, but say in college, it's good to have friends that aren't necessarily on your team if you go the college route. But I say like people you surround yourself with, little habits that you can control. Like I think it's still very important. A lot of kids go to school and don't necessarily take that seriously because they want to perform or they want to focus on their sport to try to make it professionally. But I think that's actually really the wrong way to go about it because I think how you do one thing is how you do everything. So I think if you want to perform well in sports, you have to perform well in school as well because it's just the whole thing comes together. Like again, you're talking about the full experience, and you have to just. I think it's just the best way to go about things is to do your best at everything. But I would say to navigate it, people you surround yourself with, and then again, it's a lot on you. Like you just mentioned, you have to know what you want to achieve. And there were a lot of times that I said yes to things that I probably should have said no to, where I said no to things where looking back, I was like, oh, like that would have been fun to go to. And even to this day, there are still things, as a 29-year-old where I'm like, I wish I could go to that on a Friday night, but you can't because you have a game on Saturday. So it really comes down to you and what you want to achieve and what you're willing to give up.
Yeah, it always goes back to you, And I feel like there's a way to do both, to enjoy the college life, but also to stay at the top level as well. I really liked what you said in terms of like what the Stanford team did or still do, like the dry season.
Yeah.
Because alcohol, it does not go well with, athletes in general.
It's funny because it's really bad for you, but when you're 18, it doesn't affect you the same way that it does that maybe you're 25, and so you think it's okay. Maybe not okay, but maybe it's not impacting you as badly as you think it is. So that's one thing I would say to anyone that's trying to achieve that is really, really limit that. And especially the eating, like college food is very unhealthy. So anything you can try to eat in your own, if you're cook yourself, that's probably the best solution.
Yeah. Since you mentioned that though, you already mentioned like the physical side of the game, technical, the mental aspect of the game. How important for you is nutrition and strength and conditioning?
Yeah. So I know. So I studied exercise science as my undergrad degree at Temple. So I just like love that stuff to begin with, and love like working out and being in the gym and things like that. And so I know they've done studies on literally the reduction in injuries if you do strength training. So again, some people think it takes away from, and again, like everybody's body's different. So some people don't need to be super big. It might actually take away from their ability to play, maybe like a small winger who needs to be quick and agile, things like that. But there are still things you can do that will improve your performance, even if at the highest level, it's only 1 or 2%. And then that goes in with nutrition, making sure like you're getting enough carbs, getting enough protein. And then obviously like the ultimate one is sleep. Like you have to be getting 8 hours.
I was going to ask you about that.
Which is something that Americans and people in the world don't get 7 hours a night. So that is something that is obviously very tough and very tricky. And I've struggled with sleep in my life as well. Just there's so much going on. And, as you get older, there's a lot on your mind sometimes. So it's very hard to sleep. But if you can really get like a nighttime routine down, like put the phone away, don't watch TV, like try to read a book, screens are the worst thing. And light's the worst thing you could have when you're trying to sleep at night. And those things, like as you get older, really like they make a big difference.
It's funny that you're saying, we start to realize all of these things as we get older. It's come on, like, why didn't I realize? Because I think it goes back to what you said. When we're young, we don't realize how bad or how much that affect you.
Yeah. And we can get away with it because we think we're invincible. You don't notice the negative side effects of it at that time, but then like it compounds. So say you keep drinking every weekend, eventually your body's going to break down. Yeah,
it's so tough because it's like, okay, like now that I'm older, but if I was doing everything that I do nowadays when I was 12, 11, like things could have gone so different. And again, going back to the audience, I hope, the 12, 13, 14, 15, 11, 10, they're watching and listening and they're taking notes, and not thinking like, oh, these guys are boring. They don't know what they're talking about. I'm young. I'm invincible. You may think that way, but 10 years later, exactly. Yeah. You're going to be talking.
They say hindsight is 2020, but like if you look back, and you don't want to have regrets again, because like life is what it is. So now if I look back and say what I did 15 years ago, I can't be like tormenting myself with that. But if I were to go back and I knew the information I knew now, that's what I would try to apply. Because again, like the biggest thing that is going to be a struggle for all these teenagers and young kids watching is the sacrifices that you're going to have to make. Yeah. Like there were high school parties that I chose not to go to and didn't go to because I had soccer, college things that I couldn't go to because soccer. And even my adult life, like you will miss family events, you will miss weddings, you will miss all these things. And it's the sacrifice you're willing to make, at whatever age you choose to do that.
Yeah, the discipline side of things. It's hard. It's hard. Yeah, but we're here to help. That's why you're saying everything that you're telling me right now. Yeah. You're explaining everything because I'm sure at least one is taking some notes and will apply everything that we're. And again, it might not work for them.
Yeah,
it might not work for them, but at least we're telling them what worked and what did not work for you, for myself. So
for sure.
No, this is great. So, yeah, D1, Temple from 2013, 2016, correct?
Yep.
And how did the professional level come about? Like, what happened?
Yeah. So again, every story is different. So I consider myself very lucky. So there was a coach. That coach was an assistant for the union at the time that was recruiting me for Villanova, another school in Pennsylvania, when I was, in high school. So I ended up, obviously, that didn't work out. But then I had to do an internship the summer of my junior year to be able to complete my degree. And so I did that in the exercise science program with the Philadelphia Union.
Nice.
So I got my foot in the door there, and got to meeting people and this and that. And like while I was there, it was funny. Like I wasn't interested in the educational aspect of it at all. I was interested in like how can I become a professional soccer player? This and that. And you go back to reaching out to people. I remember reaching out to one of the players in the team on like Instagram at the time, asking him what it took to be a professional player. And I've personally gotten those messages as well playing now. And I'm not even in the MLS. So again, that's where it goes back to what we talked about before. Don't be afraid to reach out. No message is dumb. If they respond, then that's great. If they don't respond, that's also great. Try again with somebody else. So I had that connection through my internship, and actually at the end of my fall semester, I realized like I wasn't going to get drafted. So I had to reach out. I was reaching out to agents trying to get me trials, this and that. And so
you're talking about your senior year.
Yeah, this is the fall of my senior year. Once the season ended, I was reaching out to people to try to figure out, because obviously the professional season starts in January and February for the USL and the MLS. So I was like, I need to figure something out, otherwise I'm not going to have a team. And so this coach got me, that was the assistant coach for the Union at the time, was able to get me in a tryout with it was the Bethlehem Steel team at the time, which is now Philadelphia Union 2. So I was very lucky because that team played only 30 minutes outside of Philadelphia, was where they trained. And I was in school in Philadelphia because I didn't finish my degree in the fall of 2016. I finished it in the spring of 2017 while I was playing professionally still. So I had to work with the school to take 2 in-person classes and then 3 online to be able to finish my degree while I was playing. So then it was just a tryout. I went there for, I think it was 3 weeks. They brought me back after every week. And then after the 3rd week, they told me they wanted to sign me. So I literally went with no promise or no hope of anything besides just getting like an opportunity. And then I was able to do well enough. And then they signed me.
Wow. So that was the Bethlehem Steel.
That was Bethlehem Steel. That's where I played 2017 and 2018, my first 2 years.
Wow. So, but you're a professional. You're playing professionally at that point.
Yes.
Wow. So it's so funny, man. Like everything that you're telling me right now, like things that I wish I knew when I was younger, right? However, when you and I were younger, the access to information was not as easy as it is today.
Absolutely.
Nowadays we have Google. Nowadays we have AI. We have everything. Yep. The information is there, right? Yep. We did have social media, but it wasn't as it is nowadays.
Yeah, it's very different. Yeah.
You just mentioned you went on Instagram and just messaged people. Yeah. Right.
And it's interesting too. Like you talk about experience. Obviously, my family hadn't had a professional athlete before, so we were all kind of in the dark on what is it going to take to get to that level. So we didn't know. Whereas maybe our position now and my position, having my foot in the door, might open up more opportunities, say for my son in the future, if we were lucky enough, or for somebody else that I know. So again, it's all, I talk to my dad about all the time, the opportunities for him when he was playing, 20, 30 years ago were way different from what my opportunities were growing up, which would be way different in 15 years from our kids,
100%. It's on you. If you made the choice to become a professional footballer, it's on you. It's literally on you. And saying that it is impossible, it's you're lying to yourself, because look, we have many other players, and like all of like these players, they have different, upbringings, they have different, situations, experiences, and it's possible. It's just like focusing on exactly what you're trying to do in order to achieve that goal. And look, like, again, like, it's you kind of looking for, little things here and there to get you to where you wanted to go. And you did.
Yep.
Like now, 2017, 2018, you're playing professionally, and, you had to finish that one semester with your school, to graduate and then still play. So it's like, it is easy. No, it's not. Is it always kind of smooth? No, it's not. It's rough. It's hard.
Yeah.
But if that's the goal, that's what it takes.
And it's worth it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So played with them for about a year. For a year? Was it like
2 years? Yeah, 2 years.
2 years?
January 2017 through that season, then 2018 to the end of that season. So 2 years.
And then you moved. You didn't stay with them, right? So what happened there?
Yeah, they were kind of going in different paths. So that the team was coming to Philadelphia Union 2. And that was when kind of like MLS teams were creating that second team that was going to be a lot of young kids. So for me at the time, I would be leaving that team at 23, which was old. So they were having a lot of 16 through 20-year-old kids that were coming in and playing. So the coach there offered me to stay if I wanted to, but it was either stay there and then maybe not grow as much because I would still be playing with kids that I was playing that I could have been playing with 5 years prior, or go to where I ended up going to Sacramento Republic and again playing with more men, guys that would just challenge me a bit more. So it was a tough choice. But I ultimately decided that it was best for my career to go out to Sacramento, where I was there for 2 years.
Yeah, it's going back to you choosing the harder path to go to in order to better and improve yourself.
Yeah,
that not many people are wired that way. Because
and it's very tough because I'm not going to say a homebody. I mean, I'm very close to my family, and now I'm used to it because my whole family's in the Northeast, grew up in New York. So I went to school in Philadelphia. My parents came to all my games, as they did with my siblings and whatnot. So I had never been to California or in a location where my parents and family couldn't be close to me. So that was the choice where I was going to California for the first time alone. Which was, again, it's you're 23 years old, which again, it's different now, it's all relative. Some people leave their home at 16, some a little later, but for me, that was my first time. So that was another challenge on top of playing. But again, like you talk about growth, like these harder decisions make you grow and allow you to become like who you need to be.
100%. And as a soccer player, you don't get better playing with players at your same level or lower.
Correct. Yeah.
Like no sports. Exactly. In order for you to improve, the competition needs to be better.
Yes.
It has to be that way. So yeah, how was it with Sacramento Republic?
I would say overall experience. Again, growth. I think that's the key word. But again, up and down. I went out there, and so I didn't play much my first year in 2017, but then 2018, I was fortunate enough. I played 35 games. I played almost every minute of the season, so I was very fortunate. So I went from that experience to going to Sacramento, where I didn't touch the field for the first 10 games. I don't even think I subbed on. I was on the bench. So that was a real, I would say, blow to my confidence as a player at the time. And then it ended up the season was okay. I ended up playing maybe in 22 out of the 35 games. So I got there, and then the 2020 season was a COVID season, so it was very weird. But I would describe that as like a very up and down time in Sacramento, where I had to kind of navigate being on the bench, starting, being away from home, and things like that.
Yeah. Now for maybe for professional footballers already, professional soccer players, how did the move happen? Like from Bethlehem Steel to Sacramento Republic?
Yeah, so I was fortunate enough to honestly, it was through a teammate. I reached out to an agent. A lot of players have agents, especially if you're younger in your career, just to help you navigate contracts, and they can be pretty confusing and things like that, just terminology, and then helping you with connections to find a team. So my agent that I actually have now, I found him back in 2018, and he knew people, and he helped me get to. Or he spoke to Sacramento and said, "This is probably your best shot." And he also helped me. He said, "If you want to, further your career, this is a move you have to make. It's going to help you, and it's going to help you grow." And the team, Sacramento, was a very good team at the time as well. They were one of the top teams in the West, and still are. And so it was a move that I felt like I needed to make for my career. And so I was lucky enough. I had an agent that reached out and saw what teams were interested in. There were maybe a few teams, but honestly, at the time there, after playing 35 games, there were very few teams that were interested, which I was surprised about. So again, it's just like, it's funny what the game provides sometimes when you like, it can be very different from what you think. But I was very lucky that Sacramento was interested. And so I went out there, but then again, it was a very turbulent 2 years.
Yeah, it built character, didn't it?
It absolutely did. Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like all the preparation that you had from years before, even going back to the academies that you played for, you know, all that mental aspect, I'm sure from those days back then helped you in that situation.
Yeah, again, for sure. That they I believe even to this day, the mental aspect of the game is the toughest part, because whether it's staying physically ready for 10 months throughout the season. I mean, last year we started January 15th and our last game was November 23rd, the championship game. So that's in 10 and a half month season. So it's a long time. So the mental aspect, whether you got to stay disciplined eating, you can't go out and just drink all the time. You have to eat well, sleep, on a pretty consistent basis. So I think really figuring out what it takes mentally for you to kind of lock in as best you can. And again, there's time to separate. On your off days, if you want to go eat a bad meal here and there, I'm not saying there's not a time and a place for everything. It's all about balance and moderation. But we got to figure out again what mentally it takes for you to kind of be able to endure tough times.
Right. Okay, so now we're getting to where you are right now, which is from Sacramento Republic, Colorado Springs Switchbacks. Let's start with, again, that connection from moving from Sacramento Republic to where you are right now. Agent?
No, actually. So the coach that had signed me to my first contract in 2017 got the job out here in 2021. And so he was the head coach. He brought the assistant coach. And so I remember when I went home from Sacramento to New York, I did a cross-country road trip with my brother. So we drove home. And I remember getting a call from the assistant coach, who is now our sporting director, actually at Colorado Springs now, saying, "Hey, you're out of contract, come to Colorado." And I pretty much said, no problem, because I loved them. They looked out for me. They gave me my first opportunity, and I was very loyal to them, and I really liked them. So that's what got me to Colorado. And then it's kind of just been a joyride ever since.
That's awesome. So yeah, it's been 5 years, correct?
Yep. This is my 5th year.
Wow. Have things changed a lot from when you first got there to right now to today?
Oh yeah, massively. I would say this club was not known in the best light, I don't think, before 2021, for many reasons, mostly the ability on the field. And now they have this new fancy downtown stadium, and we played in that for the first time in 2021. So I remember coming here and we were training on the field because the turf was ready, but the stadium was not yet. So our locker room wasn't built. There was no gym yet, things like that. So to see from then until now what the stadium is, the completed gym, all the concessions and like the offices, things like that, it's almost night and day. You almost have to pinch yourself sometimes to believe you've been here that long, because I think 5 years at one club in the USL especially is a long time.
Yeah.
So I've been very fortunate that I've enjoyed my time here and been able to be a part of this culture, because again, I know I've said growth, and I've said that 15 times, but that's kind of what this club has been, is continued to grow in the right direction because of good people, connections, good culture and things like that. And so now I'm very fortunate. We have a very good locker room of guys I love being around every single day, and a very good team, and then winning the championship last year. So it's been very enjoyable. Yeah, no,
all of this stuff that you just told us right now, it motivates you as well, right? So, it's not like a stagnant club, and just, imagine it's been 5 years, and if you told me, oh no, nothing has changed, it's been the same, I'm sure if you told me that, you wouldn't have won the championship back in 2024, because it looks like things have been improving year after year, and that motivates the players.
It makes you want to continue to be a part of it, because you see it's enjoyable, it's exciting, there's just good energy and good vibes, and I think that's super important for playing at our level, because you don't want to come in every day anywhere really and hate what you're doing.
100%.
So you got to be around people that you enjoy being around, and obviously when you win, that makes it a lot better. but culture and energy around with the direction the club is going is also really important.
Yeah, and when you say people, like it's not just your teammates, coaching staff, all the staff, all the directors, fans, I'm sure everyone is kind of wired that way, that growth mindset, and that just builds up.
Absolutely.
So what's the secret to being the champs?
That is a good question. I want to boil it down.
If you know the secret, that means that your guys are going to win again in 2025.
I hope so. Only one team's done it in USL's history.
Is that correct?
That's how hard it is. Won it back to back. Yeah. Louisville did it 2017, 2018, I believe.
No,
and
you
no
guys,
other team has won
you guys going to have, say it right now. We're going to record it. You're going to say, we're going to win back to back. The second.
We're going to win it. I firmly believe that. And I think because we have built a culture now over the past couple of years with our staff and with the team and the core guys returning that is built on hard work and adaptability. And so, we started last season 0-5 and we won the champ and we ended up winning the championship. So we could argue throughout the whole season that we were not the best team in the entire season, but we hit our stride at the right time at the end of the season, won 2 very important games on the road that got us home playoff advantage. And we have a very good advantage being at home with the altitude, our fan base and things like that. Yeah. And so we were able to go on a good run and we just knew it. Like we knew when the playoffs started, we're like, we got this. Like we were just in the right way. And it's funny now because this year it's a little different again how it starts. We started with a win and a draw, a draw and a loss. And so we don't want to end up in
better than last year.
Yeah, no, they did. That's what I'm saying. So again, you're right. You're not expected to be your best at the beginning of the season. No one is. So you got to hit strides. And again, though, we don't want to settle for just that. Though we're going for a lucky run at the end of the season. Like we talk about growth and development. Like we want to be finishing the top in the West and the top of the league. And so that's what the goal is this year. Obviously, little speed bumps to start, but we believe we could do it.
Hey. I'm gonna be following. I'm especially now knowing that it has only been one club that has done it twice in a row in USL.
Yeah. Extra motivation.
Oh no, you guys are gonna do it. It's gonna do it, and it's gonna be recorded. We're gonna clip this once you do, and it's gonna be.
10 months from now, when we're holding that trophy, you'll have to resurface this.
No, 100%. This is really good. I love it. When I saw that you guys were champs and getting the chance to talk to you, I always like to start from the beginning, when soccer started for you. And now we've gone through your entire journey within the game that we love to now at the club that you are, a beautiful club. Yeah. You're telling me a growth kind of mindset club and you guys are going to do it. You guys are going to do it. Is it basically the same team from last season, or did you guys have a lot of people come in, or people that, players that left? How is that?
Yeah, a lot of turnover. A lot of turnover happens in the USL. So I would say I think half of the team is probably back that won the championship. So again, that's why you take the beginning of the season with a grain of salt, because there's still a learning curve. Yep. People are still getting used to the tactics, our identity. But the good thing is we know what our identity is. So our staff has returned, a lot of core players have returned that have won it. When that experience is something that's very valuable. And so we're kind of a way further ahead than we were last year in the beginning of the year, because we already have this experience that we can help teach the new guys kind of what it takes,
Yeah, no, as long as if you have, like you're saying, at least half of the team is back, because you do need those players, especially as the champ. You need those players to come back and kind of, hey, tell the newcomings, this is who we are, and we're trying this again.
Absolutely.
And it makes sense now why you told me that, in the beginning of the season, it's always a rough start, because like half of the team is basically new.
Yeah.
You're just trying to get the hang of it, trying to know everyone, because you don't have enough time.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, hey, this is awesome. Again, going back to, the audience, I know that a lot of the things that you shared with us today here, a lot of people will value the insights, and hopefully we can help not just one but a lot of young players.
I hope so. Yeah.
And is there anything else you'd like to share that we haven't discussed?
I don't know. For me, I feel like it's super important as a kid to make sure you enjoy it. Like find joy in what you're doing, because again, a lot of the guys I play with now, you like still enjoy playing. Like the best part to them is playing. For me, again, it's not all about winning, but in a lot of ways, as you get older, it is. As a professional athlete, you are paid to go win games. So you have to learn how to win. Sportsmanship's important. All those things are important, but you have to figure out how to enjoy every moment, because that's like, this is your life. Like if you want this to become your life, you don't want to hate it. So if you ever find out that you're doing this and you wake up every morning, you're like, oh, like it's a grind. Like you're not going to wake up every day and want to go out and exert yourself to the max. Like that's not how it is. You have to have discipline to be able to do that. Like if I said I woke up every day and felt great, I'd be lying. Like you feel tired and sore. So you have to have discipline, this and that, but you have to really figure out if you enjoy it and if it's something you're willing to do. And if it is, like, give it all you got. I mean, you might have regrets at the end. Like I look back and have regrets, but you can't really feel bad about it, because you want to say you've given it your best opportunity. So really go out. If you're a kid right now and you really want to achieve being a professional athlete, go give your best shot, work hard, work the extra hours. And if it doesn't work out, that's okay. At least you can say, you gave your best shot, and then try to enjoy the process, because it goes quick.
Oh yeah. No, you're about to be at 10-year mark, right?
Yeah, so 9 years now. It'll be 10 years in the beginning of next season. Yep.
That's huge, man, for you. I know you're still young. You're at the age of like 29 right now, right?
29, yep.
For how many more years do you plan to play?
As long as my body feels good and I can still play at the level as long as I can.
Hey,
that's my plan.
You mentioned sleep, nutrition, your strength training. You're doing everything you can.
Yep.
You're right though. It does go fast, and I'm about to be 35. Body kind of,
you're still young as well.
Yeah, but body isn't the same. And even though I'm doing everything I can, I'm not playing at the professional level, not even close. But I do pay attention to my diet, my strength training, do all the cold plunge, the sauna, do everything I can possibly do, because my goal right now is to play with my kid. My kid is 9 months old. Hopefully he's going to want to play soccer or whatever sport he wants to play or whatever he wants to do. I want to make sure that I'm there and in good condition to do that with him.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, speaking to young kids right now is we talked about the compounding effect of doing those negative actions. So you think it's not going to impact you now, but if you do that over the long run, I've played with a lot of guys that have drank a lot and not taken care of their bodies that are now retired, because you will get injured when you reach your mid-20s. So if you think it's okay now, okay, it might be. And again, balance is important, and you don't want to not have fun in a lot of moments, but it will eventually catch up to you. And if you do less of that now, you'll feel better at 35 than if you do more of it. And it's now the name of the game for myself is longevity. I'm not at the point where I'm like, I need to take care of myself so badly because I feel fit and I feel good. But it's still the name of the game when you reach a certain point is longevity, and you got to stay healthy, because the best availability is availability. You want to be available to play when the coach calls your number.
100%. Yeah. Hey, so we have this question that we ask every guest at the end of each interview. And the question is, tell us a game changer moment in your life and why.
Game changing moment. So I'm going to go back to my second year playing. We were in a playoff game in Pittsburgh. This was with the Bethlehem Steel. And in that game, we went down 1-0, tied at 1-1, went down 2-1, and our captain at the time tied at 2-2 off a free kick. So it goes into overtime, goes into penalties, and I end up taking the sixth penalty. I make it, and we ended up taking maybe two more, winning the game. But then how the USL was we bus back to Philadelphia after, so we had a 5-hour bus ride back. And I just remember in that moment, it was my first playoff win in like the biggest moment of my career. Obviously, winning the championship last year is the pinnacle of my career, and it's like the best moment. But I remember the joy that I felt in that moment where, it was my second year playing. I never had played in like important games like that. It was like 30 degrees and snowing in Pittsburgh, and like we won a playoff game and then got to enjoy it with the team on the bus after. Like I'll never forget that moment. It is still one of the most enjoyable moments of my career.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Matt Mahoney, where can people find you?
You can find me on Instagram. I think my Instagram is M_Mahoney18. That's about what I'm on most, otherwise Facebook, but I'm not really on social media too much now with the kids. It's just not enough time,
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's M_Mahoney18. I think I have Twitter as well, but I'm never really on Twitter. So Instagram would probably be the best option if you got any questions.
Awesome. Hey, thank you so much. The best of luck to you and the team. If you see Akeem, tell him I said hi. And it's recorded. You guys are winning the 2025 championship again.
Championship. Yes, sir. We are.
2 years in a row.
Yep. It's happening.
Thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thanks, you too.
All right.